What's up everyone, Tyler Medeiros here and welcome to TylerMedeirosTV. For those of you who are not subscribed, you can subscribe down below so you don't miss a video, and for those of you that are, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be getting into something really special, but before we do, if you're not following me on my social medias like Instagram and Twitter, you could go ahead and do that now. You can follow me on Instagram at @TheRealTylerMedeiros and on Twitter at TylerMedeiros. But yes guys, in today's video, we're going to be digging into a story that a lot of you may find hard to believe. Now, this story starts off with just a normal day on June 10th, 1990, when a British airline crew was set to depart from Birmingham, England and go to Spain. The pilots and flight crew boarded the plane and went about their normal procedures before taking off. Passengers began to board the plane and they walked the aisles as they stowed their bags away and sat down and began to get settled for their 2.5-hour flight. As all the passengers settled in, the seatbelt sign came on and the flight attendants began their demonstration. Just moments later, the plane made its way to the runway and began to take off. Once the plane took off, the pilots decided to loosen up their seatbelts and relax for this 2+ hour journey. What the pilots and the flight crew didn't know is that just a couple days before its departure, the maintenance manager received a list of repairs that needed to be done to this plane before its next departure. The maintenance manager then took it upon himself to make the repairs, and one of those repairs being that one of the cockpit windows needed to be replaced. Now, the manager has done this type of repair before, but he hasn't done it for a couple years now. So he is a little bit rusty in the process of what needs to be done. The maintenance manager skimmed through the manual book just to refresh his memory on how things need to be done and what is needed for the job. So he began to remove the old rusty bolts from the window and remove the window itself. He then wandered over to the parts drawer holding the old bolts and compared them with the new ones to see which ones he would need for the window. After looking around this first parts drawer for a while, he was actually only able to find 5 bolts that he needed, which forced him to go to another parts section which wasn't as lit as this section in the middle of the night. After looking around the second parts drawer, he wasn't really able to see the numbers on the screws, so he kind of just had to go by what he could see in the dark. The maintenance manager finished the repairs and the plane was set to depart right on schedule. The plane took off just like it was scheduled, but when it reached 17,000 feet, something happened. As the plane was approaching 17,000 feet, the stewards were getting ready to hand out drinks and snacks. But what happened next, guys, no one was expecting. As the stewards made their way down the aisle, a massive bang was heard and shook the plane completely. One of the windows on the captain's side in the cockpit managed to blow right off the plane. As that happened, the pressure caused the cockpit door to blow right off its hinges and fly over the radio and navigation controls. Now, at this time, the number 3 steward was working right outside the cockpit door, and once it blew off, they ran inside to see what was really going on. And when the person walked into the cockpit, they were able to see the captain hanging outside of one of the windows, and the only thing that was keeping him from blowing away is the fact that his legs got tangled up in the controls. The number 3 steward jumped into action, grabbing the pilot by his waist, holding him inside the plane. The rest of the stewards made sure all the passengers stayed calm and reassured them that everything would be okay. The passengers were also told to put on their seatbelts and get into the emergency position. Now, as this was going on, half of the pilot's body was hanging outside the window, while the bottom half was only being held on by the steward. The co-pilot ended up making a distress call, but no one could hear what was going on due to the sound of the wind. Now, as the co-pilot needed to do an emergency landing, the plane started to descend. But as minutes went by, the steward that was holding on to the captain, their arms were getting weaker and weaker, and they couldn't hold on much longer. So the number 2 steward jumped in and decided to help and switch places with the number 3 steward, keeping the captain inside the cabin. Now, as steward number 2 was grabbing a hold of the captain in the transition, the captain flew out 6 to 8 more inches out the window, which only allowed the steward to hang onto the captain's ankles as they descend. Now, just a few minutes later, the plane made a safe landing and all the passengers were let off the plane through front and back access points. After everyone was off the plane, fire and rescue were able to bring the captain back onto the plane. Now, after this event, the captain was in shock and rushed to the hospital, where he found out that he suffered a bone fracture in his right arm, his right wrist. He even had a broken thumb on his left hand, and he also suffered bruising and frostbite. No one was injured but the captain and one of the stewards who received cuts from the incident. An investigation that later took place confirmed that 84 of the 90 bolts on that window were one size too small. And with the pressure at 17,000 feet, the window was not able to withstand it. Now guys, believe it or not, but this story is true. But alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close out today's video here. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, give it a nice big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank you guys so much for all the love and support that you guys continuously give me. It means the world to me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace!